Hey guys, Jeff from White's Tackle. I got Mike from Fire Tailz here with me. He's going to show you the proper way to skirt a lure with a vinyl skirt. It's going to be great.
Thank you, Jeff. These are our Fired Up series vinyl lure skirts we make. We offer 4 sizes for different size lure heads. Vinyl is a preferred material because not only of its durability, but once again, fabric material, when it gets wet, it swims extremely well. You get great action out of it. And then also with our ink on here, it's extremely slick, which means the fish are gonna have a harder time pinching a hold of this. It's easier to slip through their mouth, whether it's a teaser or a hook lure. So there's a lot of benefits to the vinyl.
Very cool.
Skirting it, once you know, may appear difficult at first, but once you do it, get the hang of it, it's really not that hard at all. We'd like to show you how to do that if you guys would like to see.
Yeah, let's get into it.
The materials used for skirting, you're gonna need some tape, some super glue. This is available at White's as well, this Super T, it's great super glue. Heat gun helps out, and some floss. The first thing I like to do is take a little tape and protect my lure head. While you can clean it up afterwards, it's a lot easier just to take your tape off and keep that lure head perfect while you're working with the super glue. So we'll go ahead and protect our lure here first with some painter's tape. Nothing too fancy here, just get a couple wraps to protect. And then at the end, you get to unwrap your Christmas present and see the final result. So anyhow, we have the lure head protected.
And that's to keep the glue off the head?
That's to keep the super glue and the tackiness from the floss all getting on your lure head. The first thing you're going to want to do is check the circumference of your lure head or barb and match up the correct size skirt to your lure. This is a Moy's XL Sumo, and that pairs up with our large size skirt. If you have any questions regarding that, we can help you with sizing. When skirting a lure, you have your underskirt, then your top skirt, and we also like to add a few of these MoldCraft Tuff tails in there for color as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get my 3 pieces of floss prepped. So about almost an arm's length or arm span of floss. This gives you enough to pull it real tight. You want to have plenty there to pull tight. What I like to do is form a hitch before I begin. In doing so, we flip it around there. Now we have a hitch that's ready to draw down and stay locked on the skirt. I'm going to make 3 of those, one for the underskirt, one for the Tuff tails, and then one for the top skirt. And then you want that to be pretty much in the middle where you have equal amounts of floss on either side there. And we are going to start with the underskirt, and we use a solid color for this typically. What we'll do is size it up. So we'll invert the skirt to where it's inside out and facing forward on the lure.
Okay.
And then we'll do a kind of a test wrap here to see how much material we'll need for this. And we also use the heat gun when doing this. It helps to soften the vinyl and stretch it.
Do you do that before you try and measure it, or do you?
We'll measure before, and then you can always account for the material stretching a little bit more. So we'll basically kind of line that up even right here. And I'm going to cut that much off so we have just pretty much a meat in the middle, even amount. Mm-hmm. And then once we heat it, it'll stretch a little more.
Okay.
So we're just going to get that sizing. We'll cut off a few tassels here.
Ultimately, do you want it overlapping a little bit on the
I do
seam?
a little overlap. Yeah, there's several different ways to do this. Some guys use stitching and all that. We've done fine with just the super glue and overlap method. Seems to be fine.
Great.
So this also on the underskirt, you can also trim down a hair. It's just a matter of getting the sizing and all that dialed in, but we'll take a little bit off the top here too, because we don't want our tassels to start too far down. Okay. So we got this going, and we will fire up the heat gun here. Warm our skirt up a little bit. This is going to give us added stretch. take the skirt inversely, like I was saying here. I like to make my seam on the top of the lure.
Okay.
So we find the top of the lure, and we start there. And we'll do a tight wrap, fairly tight. Doesn't have to be overkill with this here, but that forms pretty nicely there. We'll take one of our floss loops and just fit it right around there.
Can I do anything?
No, you're good.
So this is a one-man show.
That's the key of getting the hitch ready here. Is you can
Yep.
do it. You can do it one-handed, yeah, or one by yourself. And once that locks, it's pretty much holding on where you're not going to lose your deal there. All right, then we're going to get that nice and tight, draw it down, and we will do a dab of glue right there on that hitch to secure that in place. Just a little dabber, glue. And then I'm going to go around and make a few more overhand knots, spread them around the base of the lure here. We don't like to tie any actual, well, I guess that would be an overhand knot, but we don't want to have any knots that will show through the skirt, so we just do...
Yeah, you want them to lay flat.
Correct, yeah, so we just do a couple, like we're tying our shoes here. I did a single, and then I'll do a double on this side, and that's three hitches there to secure. And then we're just going to draw that down nice and tight. A little more glue on that last one. And then we will pull it again. And I also keep a little toothpick here handy to kind of rub that glue around.
Oh, that's smart.
We'll get that on there. And then we will trim our ends off. And once again, we can use this to kind of tuck these tag ends down. That's not going anywhere.
Nice and clean.
And then we will flip the skirt. So just flip it. Work your way around there. And now we have our underskirt on. Pull it nice and tight. And then I'll also put a drop of glue under the seam there to hold that. So we'll do a little bit of glue there. Pull that over and just give it a sec with your finger to let that set up. And then next step we use, optional, but we like to add these MoldCraft Tuff Tails for a little extra color. Here we'll choose pink because I view these as something that you want to contrast and stand out above the normal colors of the skirt. So we chose a pink on this one. Give it a little extra pop.
Yep.
But we'll cut, once again, individual preference. We'll just do 2 on this. 2 things of 2, and then those we'll tack on with a little dab of glue on either side, probably about mid body of the lure.
And these are going to kind of act as a lateral line as well.
Correct. Yeah, it would be like exactly a lateral line of a fish. Something to get a little more attention with a vibrant color.
Sure.
We'll tack that on there, and then we're also going to floss over this as well. This glue is great. It really sets up quickly and is not too hard to work with. All right, and then we're going to take our hitch here and go over that as well, just added security so those guys don't ever come off. So, slide that one over. And draw those down.
Mike, I noticed that you tighten that hitch on top of where the seam was as well.
Yes,
so
correct.
It also helps hold that together, right?
Added reinforcement, added durability, yep. A little more glue on that deal and we're good there. Same deal, we'll trim our ends off and tuck them down. All right, so that's our lure with the underskirt and tassels. And now we're going to put our top skirt on. So once again, different sizes for different skirts. This one seems to work out, I think, just right for this size lure, but you can also trim these accordingly. So we're ready to go here with the top skirt. We have our floss ready. This printed vinyl definitely helps to heat up with the heat gun. You're going to get a lot more stretch, get a tighter deal there. So fire up the heat gun. Yep. Warm it up.
Now, how long have you had these vinyl skirts?
We've been doing vinyl skirts for quite a while now. Originally started in solid colors as well, and then once we figured out the printing, we've had printed skirts for a couple of years now.
Nice.
Yeah.
I see more and more of them on social media, and
guys that like teaser fishing in particular comment on how much easier this is to get away from a fish because of the slickness of the material. Once
sure,
again.
that makes a lot of sense.
So this is pretty warm. A little more, another shot here. Nice and soft for us to work with. And same deal where we're going to start inverted. And
this one we're not going to take any of the skirt off because
you want to cover, exactly. You need a little more length there to get the coverage of all this.
Okay.
So, you know, it's just kind of finding the right length for things. But typically, like I'm starting that at the
just over
base
from the
end
seam
of the barb, and over the seam, correct. So now we got this soft skirt. We're going to hold it here, and we're going to pull it real tight around, and you can see how it really takes the shape of that lower barb.
It does, yeah.
with the heat on there. So we got that, and I'm going to hold it tight right now. And then this is the tricky part, but you want to...
Do you want me to hold the skirt?
No, we got it.
You got it?
I get my hand through that hitch.
Oh, okay.
And then I do a little...
He's got all the tricks.
Little roll job. And then this should fall right down over that, like so. And now we're ready to lock that down. So here's our hitch on top. Leave it long, tag ends, like I said, so you can get a good wrap and get a good
And that really
pull
pulls
there.
down in there tight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt sometimes to have a little pair of pliers if you need to straighten this out after the fact, but that's coming out pretty good there. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and tighten this up a few times. One there.
Single half hitch.
Uh-huh. And we'll do one more double. I like to finish with a double and a little glue. Make sure that's not going anywhere. One more solid pull down. She good. Little glue. And we'll tuck those tag ends again. Make sure that's never coming out. Glued down nicely. And we are ready to flip that one over next. So we got to this point, and now the flip. So we'll just start on this here and work our way around. Flip, flip. And now we use glue again. We're gonna glue first under this first flap. Little dab of glue there.
Okay,
again.
that kind of keeps it all seated down.
Yep, and we're gonna pull that over. Pull that over and straight down, and we'll be patient with this part. Give it a couple seconds to set with your finger on it there.
It's under pressure, and that's the outside of the final product, so you want it to look good.
Yeah, and this glue sets pretty quickly, so we just want to make sure we get a nice pressure on that to set properly. And then we're just going to flip the rest of this and put another bit of glue under the seam there.
And I see you're not using much glue.
It doesn't take much, no. This stuff. Plus, you don't want to be messy. You don't want it to, you know, come out the sides. But
right.
Yep, just a little bit of glue and then proper pressure there. Yeah, we'll hold that for a second, and we're pretty much done at this point. I like to trim the skirt ends down to a point. I think it helps give more action to the lure.
Yeah. You can see that
Yeah,
on these others that you brought.
A little time consuming, but at the end of the day, you're putting your best effort out there for your lure looking good in the water.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll trim this up. This takes a minute here, but worth doing, like I said, I think. And we'll just trim all of our tassels to a point.
The water probably flows off the back of the lure better.
Exactly. I don't know the physics behind it, but there is something to do with, the release of the
air trapped.
the
in
momentum,
there or
the
something.
force of the water flow, what have you. But as it terminates in a point, you're gonna get better action than a squared off end. Same principle as our strips. All right, so
I think we got them all.
the moment of truth and the exciting part when you get to see how pretty our lure looks here.
Can you find the end of the tape?
I think so. Voila.
Man, that looks
There she
great.
is. You use your tape to clean up your scraps there, but
Yep.
yeah, that is our Moy's XL Sumo with a skipjack skirt. We make our skirts in an effort to line up with the patterns on a lot of lure heads and stuff. The lateral line, like you said, and the back color.
Yep.
We try to make them match up to the lure heads as best as possible. So that's it. That's a beautiful Moy's XL Sumo with a skipjack skirt.
Very cool.
And yeah, that ought to work.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, thanks so much for that.
You're welcome.
You guys, if you want to check out these skirts, see all the different colors that they're available in, check them out at whitestackle.com or in one of our shops. Thanks.